All right, let's talk about something that's absolutely critical for any business that holds inventory: safety stock. We're going to break down what it is and how it can seriously protect your sales and keep your customers happy.
So let me just ask you a question, and it might hit a little close to home. Have you ever been in that really painful spot where you had a customer ready to buy and you had to turn them away?
You know the feeling, right? It's just so frustrating. That dreaded out-of-stock sign. It's more than just a little inconvenience. It's real money walking out the door. And honestly, it's a ding on your reputation. That's the exact problem that safety stock is designed to solve.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll look at safety stock as a kind of insurance policy for your business. Then we'll decode the formula. Don't worry, it's not as scary as it looks. We'll walk through a real calculation and then talk about how to fine-tune your stock levels.
Okay, first things first, I want us to completely reframe how we think about this stuff. Let's stop seeing it as just, extra product sitting around. Let's start looking at safety stock as your business's insurance policy.
So what is it really?
Well, the official definition is that it's the extra inventory you keep on hand to prevent stockouts. Think of it as your buffer. It's what protects you from the two biggest unknowns in business: when customers suddenly buy way more than you expected, and when your suppliers are late with a delivery.
And you know what? Here's the best way to think about it. It's like the spare tire in your car. You don't plan on getting a flat, right? But you carry a spare just in case. Safety stock is that exact same idea for your business. You hope you never have to dip into it, but you'll be so glad it's there when something inevitably goes wrong.
And what's really important here is how this connects to your bottom line. I mean, this isn't just about having extra boxes on a shelf. It's about being ready for that sudden spike in demand during the holidays, or when your main supplier has a delay. This buffer is literally what keeps your business running smoothly, what keeps customers happy, and what stops you from losing sales.
Okay, now for the part that sometimes makes people's eyes glaze over, the math. But hey, don't worry, don't click away. We're going to break this down piece by simple piece. Think of this formula not as some complicated equation, but as the engine that actually powers your entire safety net.
And here it is. I know. At first glance, it looks like a bit of alphabet soup, but trust me, each of these symbols represents a really simple, logical idea. We've got Z, sigma, and L. Let's tackle them one by one.
First up is Z. This is your service level factor. To put it simply, this is where you get to decide how confident you want to be that you won't run out of stock. How sure do you need to be? Are you okay with a 10% chance of a stock out? Or do you need to be like 99% certain it won't happen? That decision you make, that becomes your Z-score.
And this table makes that choice super clear. You can see if you want a 95% service level, which means you're accepting only a 5% chance of a stock out, your Z-score is 1.65. But look, if you need to be 99% sure, your Z-score has to jump all the way to 2.33. The higher your goal, the higher your Z-score, and that means, you guessed it, more safety stock.
Next up is sigma. Now, this is just a fancy statistical term for how much your sales tend to jump around. If you sell almost exactly 100 widgets every single week, your sigma is super low. But if you sell 20 one week and 200 the next, well, your demand is all over the place, and your sigma is going to be much higher. It's just a number that measures unpredictability. And finally, we have L, which stands for lead time. This one's easy. It's simply how long you have to wait for a new shipment to arrive after you place an order. This period of time, this is the danger zone. It's the vulnerable window that your safety stock is there to cover. So a longer lead time means a longer period of risk.
All right, theory is one thing, but let's make this real. Let's see how this actually works. We're going to take all those pieces we just talked about and plug them into a practical, step-by-step example to figure out a real safety stock number. And it really just boils down to these 4 simple steps. You need to figure out your average demand. You need to calculate how much that demand varies, that's our sigma. You got to know your supplier's lead time. And finally, you choose your service level, which gives you that Z-score. That's it.
Okay, let's plug in some numbers. Let's say we're aiming for a 95% service level. So from our chart, we know our Z-score is 1.65. Let's say our sales data tells us the standard deviation, our sigma, is 15.81 units, and our supplier takes 10 days to get us a new order. So the formula becomes 1.65 times 15.81 times the square root of that 10-day lead time. You run those numbers through a calculator, and what do you get? 82.49.
We'll round that up to a nice, clean 83. And there you have it. That's our magic number. This tells us that to be 95% sure we won't run out of stock while we're waiting for that next delivery, we need to keep a permanent buffer of 83 units on the shelf. That is our insurance policy in a single number.
But hold on, it's not quite a set it and forget it kind of thing. Your business is always changing, right? So your safety stock should too. Let's get into our last section and talk about how to keep this buffer perfectly tuned.
This slide nails the logic perfectly. Look, on the left, if your customer demand is super predictable and your suppliers are always on time, you can get away with a lot less safety stock. But over on the right, if your sales are unpredictable and your suppliers are inconsistent, well, you're going to need a much bigger buffer to feel safe. It's always a balancing act, between the cost of holding inventory and the cost of losing a sale.
So, what's the real payoff for all this? Well, you're directly cutting down on lost sales and preventing customers from getting angry. But think about this. You also get to avoid those crazy expensive emergency orders and all the extra fees for expedited shipping. It's a proactive move that saves you a ton of money and headaches down the road.
And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. It's so easy to look at a warehouse full of inventory and just see a giant cost sitting on your balance sheet. But when you manage it the right way, using a smart tool like safety stock, it totally transforms from a liability into one of your most valuable insurance policies. Pretty powerful when you think about it that way. Thanks for tuning in.
Ready to take your e-commerce business to the next level? With OneCart, you get effortless inventory syncing, streamlined listing management, and seamless multi-platform integration. Don't just take our word for it. Hear from our happy customers. Experience the OneCart difference and start your free trial today. Simplify your workflow, grow your business. OneCart, your all-in-one e-commerce solution.